You know something I'll never understand? Why do people assume that if you play Dungeons and Dragons or read fantasy books that you can't like sports? Or if you like sports, you can't like nerdy things like Lord of the Rings? I'll never understand that because I'm here to tell you it's quite okay to do both. I'm doing plenty of it right now because football season started, the Astros are still awesome, and all kinds of new books and games are coming out. Let's talk about them. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mike here. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that's going on this month. I did a video before about what are you watching, what are you playing, what are you reading, what are you listening to. And for me, this is a question that evolves about every 2 weeks because there's so much media that I like to consume and stuff, and I like to talk about these things. So I like to open up to you and ask what it is that you guys like to talk about. So I'm going to start off here. What's changed since the last episode? Like, we finished Dark Crystal. There's nothing on Netflix right now that we're really like going through or binging or anything like that. Same with Amazon. We finished The Boys. We finished the Dark Crystal. What we doing right now in September, we always start planning for something that we've had a little weird family tradition. Many people might call it weird. I don't know. We're just, me and my wife are dorks like that. Is my wife, I love horror movies. Obviously, you guys know by now that I love sci-fi, horror, fantasy. But my wife's not crazy about the horror because I'm going to be honest, she gets a little scared. Okay, and October is about the only time of the year, Halloween time, where she'll agree to watch any horror movies that we've had on the back burner for a while that she hasn't want to watch because, well, like I said, she gets scared. So I started off every time being like, okay, this movie, that kind of looks creepy, that she's creeped out by, I'm going to save until October. And what it has evolved to over our 11 years together, or 12 years together now, what it has evolved to is we'll make the whole month of October like a film festival. So what we call it every single year now is the annual, the Halloween Film Fest, Fright Fest? See, I don't even know. Halloween Fright Fest Film Festival. That's what we called it. A lot of F's in there. So basically what I'll do now is I'll get about 25 movies. If we're not doing a theme, sometimes we'll do a theme. Like one year we did Alfred Hitchcock. One year we did Twilight Zone. One year we did, just 80s horror. So we always try to have like a theme to it, but then we just started getting so behind on so many other movies. And as you know, there's a kind of a new renaissance on horror because I feel like we're getting away from the PG-13 jump scare generation, and we're actually getting some directors now that grew up in the same era that we did and kind of want to do a throwback to that kind of horror and are getting back to the things that worked in horror and things that don't. But there's also this like artsy movement in elevated horror. Like if you've watched anything by A24, that's probably elevated horror, like Hereditary or The Killing of a Sacred Deer or something like that. That isn't for everything, and old school horror fans are like, what is this pretentious bullshit? I'm kind of hit or miss on those. I liked Hereditary. I thought that Ghost Story was some of the most pretentious garbage I've ever seen in my life. But see, that's what I'm talking about. So what we do now is we'll just get about 25 horror movies that people recommend from like the last 5-6 years to try to catch up once, or maybe the last decade, because we're going back to like 2008, 2002 on some of the ones we put up for this year. And we'll watch the trailers and we'll kind of like make like a little grade for it, and then we'll compare and contrast, and whatever like the top 10 or 15 movies are, those are the ones that we'll watch for October. So we got that list. I'll post the list down in the comments of what we are actually going to watch, so you guys can talk about that if you'd like to, because it'd be too long if I went through everything here. So that's probably what we got on tap really for watching. So we start that right on October the 1st. There's a new Stephen King movie. Stephen King and Joe Hill, and Joe Hill is his son, in case you guys don't know. I think it's because he didn't want to go by Joe King, because everybody would make the joking joke, or maybe that's just a dad joke thing. I don't know. I got young kids. I make the dad jokes. Don't worry about that. But it's called In the Tall Grass. It's a really cool short story that I recommend you read. It's like 80 pages, so you can read that with no problem, because it's definitely probably the most spooky thing that I think Stephen King had done in a while, because I said in my review for the Institute that he isn't really that kind of writer anymore. That he isn't really that's the scariest book he's ever written kind of writer anymore. And that's it's fine. Look where he is in life. I understand if he feels like he can't scare you anymore. So he's more into like thrillers and supernatural and crime stories now and stuff like that. But In the Tall Grass, maybe it was more. I don't know if it was Joe wrote it and they just put Stephen King's name on it, or maybe they actually really did collab, because I felt like Sleeping Beauties was just Owen King and they slapped Stephen King's name on it because it wasn't that good. Okay, what are you playing? Dude, guys, this is a crazy month for gaming. Greedfall just came out, and I didn't play it because there's so much other stuff that came out. If you don't know, Greedfall is kind of like Dragon Age. I think so, at least based off of what I've seen. I've only watched some Let's Plays and stuff like that to see what it's like. Very ambitious by a smaller studio. Yeah, they are using the name. Oh, it's like Dragon Age or something like that to try to get attention and get name on their, eyes on their product. And from what I've heard, for the most part, a lot of the term I hear is very ambitious. So I'm thinking it's something that could probably be fixed as it goes along and gets patches and corrections and things like that. But I mean, for me, the month of September was all about these two games right here. I feel like my wife and I are the last couch co-op gamers left. We don't like to go online and play our games because we got young kids that we fight with every day. The last thing we want to do is have young kids on our headset calling us racial and homophobic slurs and stuff like that. So we never really had much interest in playing online. We played online with some friends for a while, but really it was just one of the more expense that we felt like. I'm paying basically what I pay for, a streaming service to be able to play games online. I'm cool. But those kind of games have kind of started to die. They've started, even the last Halo took out the split screen co-op, so you couldn't play it on the couch. But Gears is probably the one series that me and my wife just are unanimously in love with. We've loved this series since it first came out. It's at this point, the sixth, it's Gears 5, but if you count the one spin-off game, the sixth Gears game we play together. And I can say that this game is what I wanted from Gears 4. It's very, very cool. It keeps the same formula, changes it just enough that it feels fresh, but fans of the series are going to like this one. The story has some holy shit jaw-dropping moments too. So yeah, the series that I think is better than Halo. I know that's a controversial among some people, but I don't do multiplayer, guys. I'm just a campaigner. I'm just a couch co-op guy. So don't take that. But Borderlands, I got a mixed opinion about this. This game with multiplayer, at least local multiplayer, is so goddamn buggy that it's frustrating. Anytime a second player opens up their menu, the game drops below 10 frames per second. And it's one of those things where I know Gearbox. I know they're going to fix it. I know they'll put out a patch and it'll be perfect. I just can't believe they released the game in this state. Because at least on the PS4 version, I can't speak for anything else. I know some people will be like, oh, it works fine on my PC. Look, I am a PC gamer. But I don't like to couch co-op on my PC. I like to do that on the couch. So I bought the console versions for both of these so we could play them on console. And I can't believe the problems that this game has. A lot of the times when you're looking at the items, it'll show a different picture than what you're actually looking at. And so you'll end up selling or equipping something that you didn't want to equip because it's just all mixed up. So it's a lot of problems right now. But like I said, I know they'll fix. I know they'll put out their 30-day patch and it'll fix everything. But right now, it's so frustrating. It's made it easy for us. Even though we were more excited for Borderlands, it's made it real easy for us to fall back into playing Gears, which, again, that's like saying, oh, do I want this supermodel or do I want this supermodel? It's really is just it's two series that we love to death. And, of course, they came out in the same week because that's just how life and entertainment works. Reading, I just finished the new Stephen King, and Live Under a Rock, you don't know, I'm a huge fan of First Law by Joe Abercrombie. His new book drops tomorrow as of this recording. So that definitely will be in the plans, and I might have to actually upset my wife more than once and say, hey, I can't play tonight because I want to read. So there's that, and then, there's all these other things going on in personal life that, I actually do have to take care of my children. I actually do have to do schoolwork, things like that. Do have to maintain a working, functioning household, make sure that my kids aren't like, what's your name again? Things like that. Listening, I guess you'd say I'm still listening to Tool. I don't know if you guys have an Alexa. I hope she doesn't turn on because I said her name. We've got 8 of them. We've got one in every room because we use it as the surround sound for our house when we want to play music. And I'm 41, so I know that a lot of people disrespect this now in the internet age, but most people that watch this channel are close to my age probably. I've really been on a Beatles kick lately. In case you don't know, I'm a huge Beatle maniac. I feel like it's Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and everybody else. That's how I feel about music. I don't feel like those two will ever be touched, in my opinion. I've kind of not really pushed that on my kids because I want them to form their own opinions. But it's two groups that they'll listen to, whereas most things are like, what is this garbage? Yeah, I've really been into the White Album and Let It Be and Abbey Road a lot lately. Late Beatles. But the thing is, like, I never really got out to say I'm really into the Beatles right now. But that's just over the last couple of weeks what I've been listening to a lot is the Beatles. So gaming. There's all kinds of stuff, the backlog that I haven't actually played yet, so playing these two, and then we'll get back to that. Same with reading. I keep buying stuff, and, I was like, hey, I'm just filling out my shelves. That's what I kept saying, just filling out my shelves, so much so that I had to go buy 2 new shelves. I got all my Star Wars paperbacks out finally. Found them all. I had a ton of them in the closet because when I was down to 2 shelves, I was like, I don't have any room for these paperbacks, but I can't bear to get rid of them. And I mean, I've got over like 60 Star Wars paperbacks back there. So I was like, I'm not ever going to get rid of these. So I was like, with this new shelf, cool. I can make this last one just my paperback shelf. But I've got such a big backlog now of reading stuff that I feel like I need to kind of stop. It's almost like a sickness at this point. You'll see in the next book haul video that I do at the end of September. I'm going to kind of wait for hopefully my signed Joe Abercrombie A Little Hatred to show up before I do my next book haul video, because I just like to show it off. It's signed and it's coming from the UK. It's awesome. It's awesome. So what are you guys doing? What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you playing? What are you reading? Please let me know in the comments below. I love talking to you guys about these things. So if you can, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, please, because I'm just here to talk with you guys. Let me know what you're up to, and we'll talk to you soon.